Hello guys, this is a jig rod that was sent to me about 5 years ago to see if I like the blanks or not, and I've never actually ever used it, but I don't particularly like the layout of it or the quality of components on it, so I've never really used it for that reason. So what I'm going to do is get rid of the rear grip, the winding checks, the rear seat and foregrip, and before I do that I need to remove all the guides. So I'll get stuck into it. I might disappear away out of the screen every now and then just with a bit of hammering and banging, but it's I'll see if I can get you most of it in film to see how to strip it back down and yeah, see how we go. So we'll start with the guides. This is basically a heat on the foot of the guide, so I'm actually doing this reverse so it feels a bit awkward to me. I should actually have the rod around the other way. So just heat that epoxy and slide the guide out. Try not to get it on fire like I just did there, and that's it, guide's out. So we've got my guides. I'm going to spin it around this way so I'm working how I feel comfortable. So flame along the front of the foot. The less heat you apply to it, the better it'll be. So double foot guides, we're going to heat here and heat here on the top of the guide, and we're going to get a standing knife and cut that thread on either side, and you can just slide it out that way. So in principle the same, but you just want to loosen the epoxy on both sides. Minimal amount of heat, just to see it until you see it starting to bubble a little. And the same again here. Sorry for the banging and crashing. Just cut along the top of the thread. You'll know when you're there, and you can slide your standing blade underneath the guide foot. That's it, that's all the guides off. And now for the thread, I'm going to cut back into the winding check. Always try and cut back into the areas where you're going to actually conceal with grips on your reel seats, just to keep the cosmetics of the blank right. So same again, just give it a little bit of heat, not too much because there's nothing under that thread bar the blank, so you want to try and keep that to a minimum. Once you get that cut off, it just peels off real easy. None of these parts will be able to be reused. And depending on how tight they've got the winding checks as to how much thread and epoxy you can leave on there. Just slide over that winding check over it, so cut down through the winding check. Just takes a little time working your way through the EVA and the epoxy, chipping it away. But try not to damage the blank doing this. These next few steps might just seem a little bit brutal, but it's the most efficient way of getting these blanks stripped down. So I might duck out a picture just here for a second. Strip out, got an open-ended spanner, slide it on there, and just knock that winding check back with a hammer and get rid of that. And probably can't see it here, but I can see that winding check was never put on that real square tells me it's probably a little bit large. Now, reel seat hood comes off. So what I'm going to do with this here now is I'm going to stand it on the floor. I'm going to get this knife here and I'm going to belt it down with a hammer and just cut down the side of this reel seat, and do the same the other side, and then you should just peel it back and this grip will come off, which we'll come back to. So you can see here I'm just slowly chipping it away, and you can see how they've arboured this up. And like I said in the previous video, quite often factory rods fail because of the lack of the epoxy in there. And you can see between that arbor, this arbor, I can't see another one down here, but we'll cut a bit more off and see where it takes us. There you go, I've taken a bit more of the reel seat off, and you can see, like I said, there's you're missing your arbors through here. They've got plenty of epoxy in here, but they should be all done up properly. I think they're relying on the bottom EVA grip here to keep the reel seat nice and check. What you can see is, it might be a bit hard on the camera, but this grip here should normally be rebaited into this reel seat, and it clearly hasn't. And like I said previous, they put a lot of epoxy in here, missing here, so it was quite a poor assembly, to be honest. But anyhow, I'll keep going, clear that up. Okay, so I've cleared all that up, all the epoxy, arbors, reel seat's gone. So just follow on, more thread to cut off, knock that winding check up that way, more thread here, winding check up through this, and we're not too far away. This rear grip has encapsulated the butt of the rod, so no gimbal, butt cap or anything to come off. That's just a straight cut, and we'll come back in a sec. Right, last bit of thread to come off. We'll just cut that back to the winding check. Sometimes you get lucky and you get a thread and it'll just keep rolling out from underneath the epoxy, and it gets it a real clean job. And that epoxy there, last bit will just come off once you've got the thread off. Right, last grip, off it comes. And this is the last winding check to come off. There you have it, all stripped down. These here, depending on all this rough bit of stuff, like old epoxy and bits of EVA, they clean it back as a certain amount, but try and get it reasonably level, but it's not too critical. Just it helps the new epoxy, new grips and everything adhere well. So seems a little bit of a barbaric process, but the blank is not damaged, and it might make a great rod sometime. So I've just got to cut these off, old bits of threading, and again these just peel off pretty easy. The only downside to these jobs is that where the previous guides were, you are sort of dictated to a degree that that's where the new ones will have to go, and if they just can't, or the layout doesn't suit, what we need to do is get that all cleaned up, give it a light sand with some sort of 600-800 some grit paper, and that'll come up nice. And you might need to re-clear coat it or whatever, but do try and take the minimum off the blank, otherwise it will alter the integrity of it. So yeah, there you go.